Catholic Christians in Cameroon celebrate the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into heaven with praises and worship as church leaders call on Christians to emulate the virtues she incarnates while administrating the sacrament of baptism to many. Civilians and military have joined hands to fight the adverse effect of climate change by planting 30,000 trees to regenerate the Melap Forest Reserve in Fumban in the West region. And those are top stories. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the 7:30 News with me, Gladys Tata.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. Christians of Mary, Queen of the Apostles Minor Basilica in Volier, Yaoundé, have celebrated the Feast of Assumption, the day it is believed the Blessed Virgin Mary was taken up into heaven, body and soul. While exhorting the faithful, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Yaoundé, His Grace Jean Barga, called on them to pray without ceasing so that Mary, the Mother of Jesus, can intercede on their behalves. Yoti Kalali Sange captured the highlights. Here is her report.
Virgin Mary in the spotlight as these Catholic faithful believe she was received body and soul in heaven. This sculpture, a reminder that she's still interceding for the church, and the challenge is for Christians to intensify their prayers and grow.
It's not only on spiritual dimension. We have also to grow in human dimension, in economic dimension, in many ways, as we are trying to be better every time. So I pray for all of you. I pray the Virgin Mary to sustain us in this spirit of growth and development.
While praying for growth, others are confirming their faith in Jesus Christ. The Feast of the Assumption this year has a deeper connotation to the Christians of this minor basilica, as it marks 30 years since the foundation stone of the edifice was laid.
In the Central region, Catholic Christians celebrated the Feast of Assumption at the Marian Sanctuary in Simalen, while in the economic capital, Douala, a solemn mass took place at the St. Peter's and Paul Cathedral. The officiating priest urged the Christians to walk in the steps of the Virgin Mary and live a life void of sins. Let's have this joint report with Rabiatu Jingi Abdulaziz of Siatri Center and Mercy Ashen Nabeye of Alitora Regional Station.
A spiritual encounter well met despite the cold morning in Douala. It is the second mass at the Saint Jean Parish d'Edo, and the officiating priest seizes the opportunity to make a clear cut between ascension and assumption.
Jesus Christ lifted up himself, but by the grace of God, the privilege Mary had, she has just been lifted up by Jesus Christ's Son.
As a human, Mary was privileged, and the Christians are told to live up to the standard by obeying their Creator. Infants are baptized into the Catholic faith as they prayed for the church, the nation, against the COVID-19 pandemic amid thanksgiving for the lives of the living and those of the church gone too soon.
According to the Catholic dogma, Mary, the Mother of Jesus, assumed into heaven, body and soul on August the 15th.
Assumption, the signification is that body and soul are united in the same glory of God.
At the Mary, Queen of Peace Sanctuary, the atmosphere was that of celebration and consecration as most children received their first Holy Communion and baptism. It should be noted that Catholic Christians believe Mary, the Mother of Jesus, appeared at the Marian Sanctuary in Simalen some 34 years ago.
Over in the northwest region, the Archbishop of Bamenda has condemned the wave of violence and barbaric acts perpetrated by an identified individual which goes contrary to the teachings of the Church. His Grace Andrew Nkea was speaking during celebrations to mark the Feast of the Assumption at the Bamenda Metropolitan Cathedral. CV Banta reports.
Across Catholic churches in Bamenda, the Christians, alongside their prelates and other religious groups, prayed and sang in honor of Mary, the patroness of Cameroon and the Queen of Peace. The Archbishop of Bamenda called on Christians to intensify prayers for the intercession of Mary in the current stalemate plaguing the region and for an end to the coronavirus pandemic.
If we pray the rosary and invoke Mary under the title of Queen of Peace, peace will come back to our region, peace will come back to our country.
The prelate also frowned against recent acts of violence in the region, which he says goes contrary to the teachings of Jesus Christ, and for all to emulate Mary, who lived a peaceful and sinless life.
Peace must return to Bamenda. Peace must return to our society. Peace must return to our country.
The celebrations were also marked by dedication of members into some Christian groups.
In a related development in the west, north and south regions, Catholic Christians have celebrated the Feast of Assumption with calls to put their knowledge of the Virgin Mary to practice and be spiritually alert in order to make their fruits visible. The calls were made by the officiating priest to celebrate Mary's ascension to heaven, body and soul. We have details in this joint report with Chancellor Nanze in Bafoussam, Wilson Mengole in Garoua and Bernice Atabong in our south regional capital.
Christians of the St. Teresa of Jesus Cathedral in Garoua raising their voices in praise on the occasion of the Feast of Assumption, a day they believe that Mary, the mother of Jesus, came to the end of her earthly life and was taken up to heaven, body and soul.
The solemnity of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, what God did in Mary and that we are celebrating today, that she was elevated to heaven with her soul and her body, a realization, the promises of God.
The Mass was crowned with the baptism of new converts.
The celebration of the Feast of the Assumption was an occasion for the Christians to be called upon to emulate the humility of Mary, the mother of their Lord.
I told the Christians to be humble because humility is at the origin of all our Lord Jesus can give us.
The Christians were also challenged to pray the Rosary regularly and ask the Virgin Mary to intercede for the return to normalcy in the restive northwest and southwest regions.
It's in a church that is being renovated that Christians of the St. Anne and Joachim's Cathedral, Abang, celebrated the Feast of the Assumption. The Mass was said by the Bishop of the Bolova Diocese, His Lordship Philip Alain Barga, who told the faithful that the Blessed Virgin Mary's Assumption is a symbol of hope.
We Christians, we have the obligation to follow the way of the Virgin Mary in her humility.
The Assumption Mass was also used for the installation of the new rector of the cathedral, Father Ismail Njok, and for the administration of the sacraments of baptism and Holy Communion.
The Feast of Assumption is a key celebration in the Catholic Church, with Mary given an important place in the Church as Mother of Jesus Christ, the Savior of mankind. The Mary, Queen of the Apostles, Queen of Heaven, the Immaculate Conception is also an intercessor, a model for the faithful and thus worth venerating Catholics hold. Beatrice Lasamba takes a look at this prized place Mary occupies in the Catholic Church.
She is looked up to, seen as no ordinary being, having borne the Son of God.
It's because she was Mother of God that her divine Son could not allow her mother to undergo decay.
Mary, Mother of God, is seen as humanity's mother in the order of grace. Further explains her place in the Catholic Church.
At his crucifixion, Jesus Christ handed Mary to be the mother of John, and by that, Mary was mother of humanity.
the Virgin Mary is held in high esteem as co-mediator with Christ.
She's not a divine figure, she's not a deity. Her role as redemptress is collaborating with the redemption that Jesus Christ is opting for us.
After her death, she is assumed an exception to the norm by being taken to heaven in bodily form.
All generations shall call me blessed. We are part of that generation that is calling Mary blessed. So we're not doing anything extraordinarily. Generations before us have been calling her blessed. Our own generation is calling her blessed, and generations after us will call her blessed.
Roman Catholics offer prayers and pious acts to Mary in grottos carrying her statue, triggering questions about their attitude towards Mary. The Church says consecration to Mary is the ultimate goal, and the end is God.
Away from religion, Southwest chiefs have been expressing their willingness to know the different developmental projects earmarked for the region so as to contribute to their quota in their realization. This was during a working visit to the Southwest Development Authority and to the University of Boya, as Charles Abuno tells us in the following report.
As traditional authorities who oversee a large number of subjects, the chiefs thought it necessary to be briefed on the vision and development plans that Soweda has for the people of the Southwest region.
What program do they have? What program do they have for the Southwest region concerning our roads, the development?
Collaboration between the chiefs and Soweda is very crucial, especially within the context of the socio-political crisis.
For the chiefs to come to us, for us, is a great opportunity that we intend to take advantage of, and we hope that for future projects that Soweda and its various projects will be carrying out in these villages, we will definitely see a rise in the participation of the various communities.
The delegation of Southwest chiefs also paid a courtesy visit to the University of Boya to encourage the administration of the institution in the work that they are doing in giving quality education to young Cameroonians.
Nascent Solutions, a non-profit organization, has pledged to invest 13 billion CFA francs in humanitarian assistance within the next 5 years in Cameroon. The disclosure was made in Yaoundé during the signing ceremony for the establishment agreement between Cameroon and Nascent Solutions. Charles Ebune reports that Nascent Solutions operates in 8 African countries and is founded by a Cameroonian immigrant based in the United States of America, Beatrice Wame.
At least 5 cabinet members from finance to education and from social to agriculture attend the event to formalize the establishment agreement between Cameroon and Nascent Solutions.
The recognition given by our very own head of state of the contributions that Nascent have done, and giving Nascent the opportunity to be able to reach out and mobilize more resources so that we can reach out to many more Cameroonians.
About 16 years ago, Nascent Solutions was founded by a Cameroonian immigrant based in the United States of America, Beatrice Wame.
We have a 27 million project going on in 4 regions. It's a 5-year project. It's taking us until 2023.
Operating in 8 African countries, Nascent Solution has helped more than 123,000 school-going children in 4 regions of Cameroon.
With this support that the government has given to us, we will reach out to funding partners. We have a project that's going on in the Southwest region, which is also assisting people that have been displaced internally.
And their establishment of their legal framework in Cameroon gives them more leverage for humanitarian work.
Recruits of the Training Center for Sub-Officers in Koutaba, known in its French acronym as CESCO, have planted 30,000 trees in the Melap Forest Reserve in Fumban in the West region. The operation falls in line with a civilian military activity intended to regenerate the reserve. The operation was led by the commander of the training center, Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Theodore Fomo. Ebenezer Akanga is just back from Koutaba and put together this report for the 7:30 News.
Over the years, the Melap Forest Reserve in Fumban has suffered wanton destruction, with the trees felled down either for firewood or planks. The situation of the forest reserve had become a serious cause for concern. The Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife has partnered with the Ministry of Defense to regenerate the forest reserve. This is how recruits of the Training Center for Cadet Sub-Officers in Kutaba, known by the acronym CIESU, have planted 30,000 trees on 12 hectares in the forest reserve. The tree planting exercise falls within the framework of civilian military activities. Apart from planting the trees, the training center will henceforth ensure protection of the reserve.
I appreciate very, very well this action. This means that military is not out of the civilian world. They are here to help us, and what they did today is very important for the ANAFOR. So we can count on military to extend the tree planting in this reserve.
The Melap Forest Reserve was created in 1947. It covers a surface area of 1,700 hectares. At the working session, both the Senior Divisional Officer for NUN, Donatien Bonyomo, and the Director General of ANAFOR, Bekolo, thanked the military, saying that the military has done more than what was expected from them.
Construction works on the Nachigal Bridge over the River Sanaga and projects on the sidelines of the National Road number 15 linking Bachenga to Ntui are near completion. The Senior Regional Officer for the Leke, Patrick Simo Kamso, while on an inspection visit to the site, appreciated the quality of work done. Ewane Epole was in Bachenga and brought together this report.
It was at the end of a two-day Divisional Law Enforcement Committee coordination meeting in Bachenga that the Senior Divisional Officer of Lekki, accompanied by his close collaborators, visited the Nastigal Bridge and other projects along the National Road number 15 under construction.
I'm very impressed by what I've seen, all those works that have been done, mainly the road, the bridge. You have also the additive works that have been done in the benefit of the local population. All the schools that are close to the main road have been reconstructed. Town halls have been constructed for the villagers. The markets have been rebuilt. 2 kilometers of road tarred in the Bachenga town.
The projects executed by the Razel Road Construction Company are part of phases 1 and 2 of the support program for the transport sector. The Senior Divisional Officer also visited the portable water supply project in the city of Yaoundé and its environs from the Sanaga River.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Tonight, we continue our tour of the different regions to get a pulse of the spread of the coronavirus. We take you to the far north region. That was the last region to have a confirmed case of COVID-19. So far, the region has recorded less than 200 positive cases of the coronavirus. Baldwin Sama is at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Amadou Bava Boubakari, Far North Regional Delegate of Public Health, via video chat. Good evening, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Gladys. Tata, 12 for the different regions every Saturday. Tonight takes us to the far north region of the country. This region that was the last in Cameroon to have a confirmed case of the COVID-19, and it happens to be one of those regions least affected as far as the spread of the coronavirus is concerned. Tonight our guest is Dr. Amadou Bava Boubakari. He is a far north regional delegate for public health. Mr. Regional Delegate, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Baldwin Sama.
Tell us, Mr. Regional Delegate, your region, the Far North region, happens to be one of those regions least affected, with less than 2 persons tested positive for the coronavirus. What accounts for this low rate as far as infection is concerned?
Thank you for the opportunity you have given us to take stock of the COVID-19 pandemic in the Far North region. The Far North region is the last to be affected by this pandemic. We have activated the regional incident management system on April 28, 2020 after registering our first case. So we had a little time to better prepare ourselves and we learn from other regions affected by this pandemic before us.
Tell us, Mr. Regional Delegate, what is the situation so far in that region, talking about the spread of the coronavirus, and what measures have you put in place to keep that region safe from the virus?
As for the situation, we have recorded 184 positive cases for COVID-19 after testing about 10,150 people. Among the confirmed cases, 115 cases are cured. We have 61 active cases at the moment, and unfortunately, we deplore the death of 8 of our compatriots. Regarding the measure taken to limit the spread, apart from raising awareness of the barrier measure decreed by the government, we apply the strategy which consists to tracking down, then massively testing the population, and finally treating all positive cases. We are also focusing on epidemiological surveillance, particularly at border health posts. For the specific case of the border with Chad, we screening 8,646 people at the entry point with N'Djamena in Kuseri.
Thank you so much, Mr. Regional Delegate, for being a guest on the 7:30 newscast this evening. Gladys Tata from next weekend, a tour of the regions will take us to 2 regions every weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And on Saturday next week, we shall be taking you over to the north region of the country. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Bolton Sama. And Cameroonians should understand that they have to keep safe by respecting government measures put in place. Over in the Northwest region, the office of the Bamenda City Council has issued firm instructions to clandestine business persons operating along the street of the city's commercial avenue to relocate from the congested area. The city mayor, Paul Achombang, disclosed the information during a cleanup campaign in Bamenda. The mayor has equally promised sanctions to traders who fail to respect the instructions, adding that the phenomenon is a major factor to urban disorder. Ola Titanki has more from CRTV Northwest.
This is the Commercial Avenue stretch. Business operators are collaborating with the City Council to clean up their premises and remove refuge from the gutters. Mayor Paul Achobong, accompanied by the divisional officer for Bamenda 2, moved from store to store, calling on the owners to clear off the pedestrian path so as to decongest the town. The city mayor used the opportunity to re-echo the need for inhabitants to always wear their face mask.
COVID-19 is a pandemic that is correlated to sanitation and cleanliness. And we are here to ensure that Bamenda becomes a cleaner city. And at the same time we are doing the cleaning exercise, we're watching out for the wash hand basins, and we are watching out for disinfectants, and we are equally distributing face masks.
Paul Achobong adds that sanctions will be meted on recalcitrant business operators.
Tonight, we take you to discover the Lobe waterfalls in Kribi in the Ocean Division South region, situated some 7 kilometers from the town of Kribi. Due to its natural vegetation, the Lobe waterfalls lures tourists who visit the site for various reasons. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, visitors still brave the odds to make it, especially on weekends. Cyril Nwazeke is our guide.
The Lobe waterfalls in the Ocean Division of Cameroon, source of hope, inspiration, wealth and others to many a tourist who visit this beautiful countryside on a daily basis. For decades now, this natural leisure card is host to many who visit for diverse reasons.
With these holidays that they gave us, it was not nice. That's why I asked my mother that we should come here to come and visit some place.
Because this is the only waterfall that falls directly from the sea in the world.
You will want to know the mystery behind the falls should you undertake a visit here.
The mystical, we people from Kribi, water is our divinity.
We believe in the spirit of water. We have it, we know it. And people, they think, as we have the waterfall here, that waterfall is mystical.
But for sure, the falls are a friendly natural gift which are on the verge of becoming a UNESCO humanitarian heritage. We left the falls with an open secret. Well, it is believed that for decades now, the Lobe waterfalls has been a source of inspiration to many. That's why every weekend, as we are told, you have many tourists, especially women, who come here for one or two reasons, which is not a bad thing at all. It could be positive or negative. You could get a try if you come here one of these days. Nevertheless, the Lobe waterfalls in Crise remain a renowned tourist destination for all.
And that is how we saw the 7:30 news of tonight. But before we take leave of you, a recap of our major stories. Catholic Christians in Cameroon have celebrated the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into heaven with praises and worship.